Hi, Anne. How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you. Welcome to the GIBS Alumni Business Club podcast, where we really showcase our businesses as MBA fellow GIBS MBA alumni. So, just quickly, tell us about your company and what you do.
Okay. So my company's name is Solutioneers,
Hmm.
and we are a company that focuses on looking at helping other organizations become more customer centric.
Ah,
Now, what what we find is that you've got your customer sided approach,
hmm.
which looks at designing for customer experience, removing random experiences, helping
Hmm.
the customer move through that find, decide, buy
Hmm.
decision journey. So we sort of focus on the customer journey and helping customers design for good experience and helping our customers really look at how that good experience then
Hmm.
impacts the employees. So that's the other side of the coin. So
Hmm.
a true customer centric organization has
Hmm.
made the shift from being very product focused to being more customer focused.
Sure.
But that can't just happen by changing the way you think about customer or changing the way that you interact with your customer. It also
Hmm.
happens on the other side by changing the language and the behavior
Hmm.
around customer. And in some cases, you need to change some of the values
Sure.
within the organization as well. So there's really these two sides of customer centricity. There's what the customer sees and experiences,
Hmm.
and then there's what the employees see and experience in terms of that transformation.
Sure.
So I think a customer centric transformation is a true transformation
Hmm.
in the sense that it affects your strategy and your sort of go to market,
Yeah.
but also it affects your culture.
Yes.
And so that's what Solutioneers, that's how Solutioneers is positioned.
Ah.
We are consultants that will come in and work with any organization to make that kind of change.
Yeah, well, any organization has customers and it has employees. Yeah,
Yes.
sure. So, okay, you mentioned that. So, for me, customer experience, like I think I did an elective on that, and I do read a few, articles on it. And it's usually, yeah, you're right. Like,
Mm,
you want to know the customer journey, like how do you onboard someone, how do you service the customer,
yes.
but really forgetting about the culture changes that you have to do internally. So, practically, like, what type of, let's say someone is really, because I think customer experience is still quite new and I've only really experienced it. I think the lingo mostly in banking and really those
Financial services.
financial
Yeah.
services. So in terms of if someone really wants to jump into customer, this whole customer experience side of things, like how do they hop on? Like, what changes, what triggers do they have to have in their minds? Like, how would you come in and convince me to be like, hey, Tap, you know what, you have to change your customer experience journey? Like, how does that really look like from a solutionist perspective?
Yes. So I think there's a number of ways that you can become familiar with the fact that you need to do some work around your customer experience.
Mm.
The first way is that you notice that in your customer journey, you
Mhm.
have a lot of abandons. So what's
Ah.
happening is people are interacting with you, but they're not making the sale. So
Mm.
you can see from the data, people are coming
Mm.
to my website or people are finding out about me, but I'm just not converting all of that traffic
Mm.
into a sale. Why is that not happening? So that would be on a digital platform like a website.
Yes.
In other cases, you may be listening to the voice of the customer, which is sort of a customer experience term for
Mm.
getting survey data and hearing what's
Yes.
happening. And you may realize that you have an issue around a particular touch point. So
Mm.
touch points are every time you touch the customer or the customer touches you, that's a touch point. So
Yes.
every email, every SMS, every billboard, every little thing the customer can do or see or hear, in
Mm.
some cases even taste,
Mm.
those
Mm. Mm.
things are all touch points. And so what we find is that a lot of companies don't realize where in their journey there is friction, but they
Oh, yeah.
realize that the journey there must be friction because we don't have as many customers as we should have.
Mm.
We
Mm.
know what the market size is, we did
Mhm.
our market research, and yet we're not converting our value proposition
Sure.
into actual
Yeah.
sales. So is there a problem with our customer journey? So that's the first way, is that somebody will realize through analyzing surveys or customer retention data that there's an issue. The other way is that somebody can just know that the way that they positioned their business 5 years ago and the journey that
Yes.
they designed for their customer 5 years ago is not relevant for the customer of today. And they want to find the tweaks that they can make. And I mean, I got into customer experience because I was interested in digital transformation. And that was my journey into customer experience. And what happened was somebody phoned me up one day and they said, hey, listen, can you help us out? We've got a digital transformation project that's happening at the moment, but it's not really working. We don't really know what we should be transforming to get the most out of this digital transformation project and out of this budget that we're going to spend. So what do we need to do? So we sat down and have a conversation with them and we said, right, let's look at the customer journey and see how the customer goes through the different steps before they make that purchase, because they weren't converting. And so we went through, and finally you mentioned financial services companies. It was an insurance company. And we went through that journey and they had about 120 touch points. 120 touch points in a customer journey, all the way from seeing a billboard as being your first touch point, all the way through to logging a claim. So this was the entire customer journey, right through to sort of their claims journey. And we looked at every single touch point and we analyzed it against the framework that I researched at the time. And we then discovered that there was a lot that we could do to revamp this journey in line with where they wanted to go as a more digital insurance company. And that's what we did. We put together a sort of a 3 to 5 year strategy roadmap for them. And off they went and they implemented a lot of that strategy. We coached the customer experience person for about 18 months just to get her, because she was brand new as well. She'd been a project manager. And you say customer experience is relatively new. It's not new, but it's new, you know, it's like customer experience as a practice has been around for a long time. But really, South African companies are only starting to pay attention to it in a big way across the board now.
Okay. So you mentioned 120 touch points. So
it was a lot.
That's quite an interesting one. So within customer, I think it's CX, like the abbreviation. Let's call it CX. So within customer experience, like I think hyper customization is what's on the cards now. Like everyone wants everything to be hyper customized. Like I think that's actually the biggest selling point now. Like, how do you integrate? When do you not know? I don't think there's anything more than hyper customization. But if someone has a customer journey, let's say this digital transformation you're talking of, but let's say now I drive a motorbike, someone drives a car, someone, an SUV, someone a buggy. Like, how do you, from a customer journey, customer CX perspective, how do you hyper customize? So from seeing a billboard, how do you customize a particular journey? Like something practical, really, that someone watching this can, be like, hey, okay, and I heard you on the podcast. This is what I'm trying to do. This is where I'm stuck. Like, how would you recommend just something practical to say? Specifically from that, maybe that insurance example, to say from a billboard to someone driving a bike, someone driving a bike, someone driving a boat. Like, how could someone really incorporate some of the learnings that you learned from that particular project you did?
So I think this is where your typical marketing personas come into play. Now, if you're in a larger organization, you probably have marketing personas. And those personas, so let's say, for example, you've spoken about the automotive industry. If you're going to talk about hyper customization, and this is happening in your luxury vehicle market right now, somebody can walk in and they can choose from a smorgasbord of beautiful customizable extras that they can put into their Mercedes or their BMW or their Volkswagen Amarok, and get the car that they wanted. That's exactly perfect for them. But how do you know what needs to be on that smorgasbord? And this is where you have to go all the way back to customer personas. Now, I'm not a marketing professional. I'm not an anthropologist. And those are the people that come up with those personas, right? So when you're working with a small business and somebody that doesn't have the bucks to bring in the marketing consultant and the anthropologist, how do you do it? and I return to Clayton Christensen's jobs to be done theory.
Jobs to be done.
What
Yeah.
is the problem you are solving for this
Yeah.
person,
Mm-hmm.
and what needs to be hired so that you can be fired? Sorry, what needs to be fired
Yeah.
so
So
that
they
you
can be
can be
hired.
hired?
Yeah.
So what is it that you need to make sure that those things that you're hitting
Mm-hmm.
to get that customer through the door? What
Mm.
unique selling propositions do you want to make to them
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that they end up buying? You've
Yes.
got to make sure that if they have a headache, you're giving them a Panado.
Correct. Yeah.
You're not giving them an antihistamine. Because
Yeah.
while it might make them go to sleep, it's not going to clear their
Correct.
headache.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
where jobs to be done theory helps me
Mm.
position the journey correctly,
Mm-hmm.
without having to go into what is very valuable frameworks
Mm-hmm.
around personas. But for me, if you want to answer that question, I think jobs to be done theory is a very good tool.
And so if I want to convert people quickly there, what's that quick thing I can do? Like, because for me, like, personally, like, I have a contact form on a website and that's about it. Like,
Yeah.
someone calls or the WhatsApp if they're interested. Like, what would be that, I don't want to say, Chuck Norris type of hack that one can deploy, but what's really that, like, to really convert? I know that techniques like zero moment of, truth,
Yeah.
which we studied, but what's that thing? Like, because I think most of the people watching this actually advertise on, Google, social media, but what's that one, kick something that, someone can really deploy to really convert that you've seen
Yeah.
working. Yeah.
Yeah. So it does depend what business you're in, right?
Mm-hmm.
If
Mm-hmm.
somebody is online and they're there to buy a pair of shoes,
Yes.
and they abandon the journey,
Yes.
sending them an email to say, hey, we see that you left these shoes in your cart. If you
Mm-hmm.
subscribe to our newsletter, then we will give you 5% off of this purchase. So it's one of those quid pro quo. Years ago, I did a Scott Works negotiating course, and it's if you, then I. So that's in retail. But if you are providing a service, like a coaching service or a consulting service,
Yes.
there is no quick win.
Oof.
You have to build a reputation where your customers are. My customers, the majority of them are sitting on LinkedIn. And so
Yes.
I'm trying to build a reputation on LinkedIn
yeah.
and position myself as a thought leader in regards to
Yes.
this.
Yes.
Because people buy from people,
Yeah.
especially if it's a consulting service or a coaching service. I mean,
Yep. Yeah.
So I don't think there is a silver bullet, I'm afraid to say. I think it's hard work.
Okay. How do I always wins, I guess. So then maybe and in terms of your day to day, how do you you did mention that it's hard work, so let's go into the hard work that you do on a day to day. So how does your company operate? Like, let's say I'm like, hey, you know what? I've been putting out all these ads, I've been putting out billboards, I've been everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm not converting as much as I think I should be. Like, how does your typical consulting life cycle or project framework work? Yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of getting new business and new business development, that is probably the biggest question that everybody wants to answer is how do you get new business? So for me, I do that two ways. The first one is I do very intentional networking with people that I feel either could collaborate with me or potentially I could do work with them. So very intentional reaching out to people. I pay for LinkedIn Premium so that I can do that,
Yes.
so that I can search, so that I have all of that intelligence. And then the other way is I produce content. So podcasts like this are amazing, and just this job that I'm just finishing now, I got through doing a podcast and somebody hearing me and saying, "Oh, we'd love to meet with you. We think you can solve our problem." I also am part of forums, so I'm part of the Women in CX forum, which is a global customer experience forum, and if there's work, they sort of pass around. So networking is critical, and I've recently joined the Alumni Business Club, and we had a networking event a couple of nights ago, and it was incredible. The people that I met and the networks that I made and the results that came from that. So through networking and through presenting a persona in the place that your customer is how I sort of drum up business. And then just having lots of conversations with people, not being stingy with your time, but being prepared to talk about, hey, what is your problem? Can we collaborate on work? Oh, you actually want me to solve a problem for you? Okay, cool. Not always going in with that, I'm here to sell you stuff mindset, going in with a how can we work together mindset.
Correct, yeah. Oh, wow. So that's how you drum up business, get people through the door. So let's say I sign the dotted line. How do we move on from there?
So we're going to have a conversation, and you're going to, and it's going to be at least an hour and a half, and you're going to tell me what's going on in your business and what is the shift that you feel like you need to make and why you feel like you need to make that shift and what are the problems that you feel like that shift is going to solve. So we'll sit down for an hour and a half, and I'll listen to what you have to say. I'll then come back and do some of my own research and come back to you with a proposal that says, here is how I think I can help you. Here is I'm a solopreneur. So what that means is I work by myself, but I have a fantastic network of people that do the things that I don't want to do. So I'm not great at writing copy on behalf of my clients. I write all my own copy myself for my own blogs and posts and stuff like that. But when it comes to my customers, writing copy for their websites or for their launches or whatever we're doing, I outsource that. Because there's an expert that's much better at it than I am.
Correct, yeah.
I'm not going to build you a website. I'm not going to build you a platform, but I'm very good at putting together the business requirements for that platform so we can go out and find it and test it and see if it works for you. So my limitations, I know what they are, and I'm very happy to bring partners in to bolster that. And that's what I say to my customers is, it's an end-to-end offering in terms of providing the solution that you agree is right for your business.
Correct, yeah.
But I'll bring in collaborators and experts to sort of fill the gaps and help you choose the technology, because at the end of the day, it becomes yours. You have to live with it.
Yeah.
And marketing technology is like a minefield,
Yeah. I'm no survey monkey there. But anyway, okay, so quite interesting. So really, you actually mentioned the crucial point, like someone actually mentioned it previously on the podcast, collaborators, because I think most people just want to do everything all by themselves, and really I think having collaborators, like a strong network, really is one of the best things out there, because that's what I actually really do as well. Like, if there's a coaching thing and it's quite big, you just bring people in, or people rope you in. They're like, hey, come help us coach, or even if it's a consulting gig. I really think that's really the way to go, and just a bit less risky.
Yes, I agree with you. I think that the day of keeping your IP to yourself and guarding it closely is, those days are over. Now it's about share. The pie is big enough for all of us. Let's share it.
Exactly.
And if you've got a job and you need my skill, that's great. And if I've got a job and we've worked together well, and I can bring your skill in, that's fantastic. So gone are the days where people do everything. And that's what's fun. I call it lean consulting. So you've got your consulting, but then you've got your pillars of skill that you bring in to support that consulting approach.
Okay, and now that I've heard a bit about what you do, super interesting, I want to go back in time. Like, why did you choose CX?
I really do feel like CX chose me. And it really, actually, if I think about it, it goes back a long time. So in my university undergrad days, I worked in a steakhouse restaurant. And within being in that environment, within a month, I was promoted to the front of house manager.
Really?
Because I had this attention for detail. I am that very irritating friend that you go to a restaurant and you're like, oh shucks, I didn't do that. Oh, did you see how that was not right? Oh, they haven't changed that tablecloth. I'm that irritating person. You don't want to go there with me. And so I've had this eye for excellence for a very, very long time. And when I was doing this digital transformation project with the customer, I was spotting all the problems in their customer
Yes.
journey. And I was
Yes.
like, here's where your layer of excellence needs to be focusing. It needs to be focusing on the customer. It's all wonderful that you are deploying like a most beautiful CRM system that costs you lots of money,
Yeah.
but your customer's not going to see that.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
is your customer going to see, and what can we plug into that CRM system? And so for me, it's about that layer of excellence in terms of service. Previously in my career, when I worked for a telecoms company, I built a service desk. Why? Because our customer experience and the service experience for my customers in the telecoms company wasn't great. And so we realized system and process was what we needed to make sure that we had a good experience for our customer and a consistent experience every time,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Because one of the things about bad customer experience, it's a random customer experience. I came to the cafe and I had a coffee, and every coffee I ordered was beautifully presented with a little cookie on the side. Now, the next time I come, and I like that cookie. That's why I ordered 4 cups of coffee. Next time I come back to a coffee shop and that cookie's not there,
Yeah.
that's random. Somebody forgot to put the cookie there, but I'm upset because I didn't get my cookie. And now I'm not ordering 4 cups of coffee because the one that came. And what happens is we start to tell ourselves a story about why that cookie didn't come. This restaurant must be in trouble, hey? They're not making cookies anymore. Sure. Cost cutting. They must be in trouble. And so the way becomes the way. That's what Brene Brown says. The way that you think it is in your mind becomes the way it must be. And that for me is it's so powerful, linking back that sort of mindset work with customer experience and saying, if you're creating a random experience for your customer, you're changing the way they think about you, and it's expensive to fix.
Exactly. Ooh, and I fully concur. It shows you. So people also like saying I'm OCD sometimes, and I'm like, but that's how it has to be. Like, why am I being OCD? Yeah. But and for me, I think like as much as you put in that, like, voice of the customer. I think you did mention it earlier.
Yeah.
Like sometimes, I think there's a paper I read, and this was they were just saying that the divide between the executive and the front line is so crazy. Like in terms of how the executive believes the business is doing and how the front line actually believes the business is doing. Like that strategy, whether it's in interpretation or implementation, the gap is always so huge. And now imagine even better coming from the customer, which is the person you're serving, like getting all those insights really, really will go a long way. So yeah, for me, I always feel any feedback is always good feedback. Like, you just have to interpret it whichever way that you want to.
Yes. Yeah, look, all feedback is data. I don't really believe that all the metrics we're using to measure customer feedback are useful. And so I think that's where we could really look at what marketing metrics are we using to determine to listen to the voice of the customer. For me, I love listening to customer data. Like if there's a complaint, or you can have an AI tool that does sentiment analysis during the call, and then can pick up, this customer is angry, or this customer is upset, or this customer is ecstatic, and feed the agent prompts to say, this customer is angry, this is how you need to deal with them. That agent, he may not be very skilled in terms of empathy, and which is important training, I think, for any call center to give their people. But that kind of sentiment on the call, real-time analysis, then gives those agents the ability to tweak their responses and deal with that customer the way that they need to be dealt with in that moment. But having a look at your NPS scores 30 days later, it's not going to help you fix that experience 15 days ago, So we need to be doing a lot more real time and taking AI as a way for us to actually achieve that.
Yes, okay. And really, I wish every company could, especially client D2C companies could, hire you a lot more. And also, and on the podcast, we usually also just say, if there's some, giveaway that you have, it could be an analysis or that hour and a half conversation that you mentioned, or just coffee with a cookie and with a biscuit there. We always just say if there's any giveaway that you can offer, to anyone listening to the podcast, what is it and how can they reach out to you to say, hey, I heard this from the podcast. Is it still open?
Cool. Yes, I have a free strategy guide for anybody looking to come up with a customer experience strategy. And so I'd love for you to go to my website, www.solutioneers.co.za. And as you land on that website, a little pop-up will click up, and you'll be able to pop your details in and download that guide. So it's 100 days to a CX improvement strategy. And if you go through that strategy, it's basically my framework for putting on the table in front of your board and your execs a strategy for fixing a customer journey. And it takes you through how to identify where those little pitfalls are in your customer journey and how to fix them. So if that's interesting to you, we can then work together some more. I have actually developed a course called Find the Friction, and that's also available on my website. Oh, nice. And there are a couple of free videos and free resources there. So if you are a small business trying to do this by yourselves, I have tried to equip you to be able to do that. And I do offer one-on-one calls if people need a steer. You know, if they're using that customer experience 100-day guide to get them to the CX strategy and they kind of hit a bit of a roadblock, very happy to do an hour call to just kind of unstick them.
Okay. Definitely downloading that guide today. Google logo for me. Okay, and then just then, I know you have mentioned where people can download your resources, but how, do you have any other, is your website the way to go, LinkedIn? How do people get hold of you?
So on LinkedIn, there are 2,900 Anne Greys. And so what I've done is I am the Anne Grey with the light bulb after my first name.
I did see that light bulb.
Just to differentiate myself a little bit better. But so it's ANNE and then light bulb. You don't have to put the light bulb in. It'll just pop up by itself. And then Grey with an A. And connect with me on LinkedIn. That's a great way to get hold of me. And my email address is ANNE at solutioneers.co.za.
So Solutioneers, is it just solution and ERS?
Double ERS, like engineer, solutioneer.
Okay. Solutioneers. Okay, probably put it up. Okay, and thank you so much. It's really been wonderful talking to you. I've learned quite a lot today about customer experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It was such a great opportunity.
Thank you.